In this video I'm going to take you through how to mix hip-hop music. Hip-hop's a very different style of mixing compared with house and other electronic forms. There is no right or wrong way to do it. I'm just going to take you through three of the most common methods. The first being beat matching, the second being a straight cut, and the third being scratching. So we're going to look at the first method of mixing hip-hop music. This is going to be using a simple beat match, similar to mixing other forms of electronic music such as house. To do this, we're going to mix smoothly from the right-hand deck to the left-hand deck using our EQs and our crossfader. I'm also going to be listening to the left-hand deck in my headphones, so making sure that it's coming in on time. Okay, and now I'm still thinking about my mix points and my phrasing when I'm going to drop the next tune in. You can count it in almost. Queuing it up, I'm going to just cue it in my headphones and go 1, 2, 3, 4. Bringing the bass out just so it doesn't sound muddy together. Bringing the crossfader in. Bring the bass in, and then the smooth transition. In that demonstration, I mixed two tracks together using a beat match to create a simple blend. In the next demonstration, I'm going to mix two tracks together with a quick and fast cut. So both channel faders are set all the way up. I'm not going to use any EQ, I'm just going to use the crossfader to transition from the right deck over to the left deck with a quick cut. I'm also going to use a little scratch, which I'll cover after this, to bring the tune in. So to summarise that mix there, it was using a simple cut, using no EQs, just the crossfader to do a quick transition from the right deck to the left deck. I also used a little baby scratch just to add a little bit of interest, which we'll take a look at now, along with some other scratches. Scratching is predominantly done using the crossfader and sometimes the up faders, but for this demonstration I'll simply be doing it on the crossfader. There's a few things you need to do before you can start in the Serato preferences, and that is you need to go into your mixer preferences and then you need to change the crossfader curve from slow or medium or wherever it is to the fastest it can possibly be, and that's with it all the way onto the right hand side. The reason for this is you want to make sure that when the sound comes in, it's the loudest it can be with the shortest amount of crossfader movement. So basically, if you move the crossfader to the left, you want it to come in at about there. So if we just play a track on the left hand deck and then just bring it in. Right, I've only moved it a tiny way. I've only moved it a tiny way to the left before the sound is at 100%. Now we've changed the crossfader curve control on our SB. We're going to now use the crossfader in conjunction with the platter to start scratching. The first scratch we're going to do is the baby scratch. It's very easy, anyone can do it, hence why it's called the baby scratch. So let's check it out. Basically, you want to do the baby scratch on the very beginning of a sample or the very beginning of the transient of a beat. I've got a kick here, if you can play that. And you can just hear. Basically, the baby scratch involves a forward and a backward movement on this transient or sample to create a wiki effect, which is sort of associated with scratching and the scratching sound. So if I move the platter forward and backwards, and then do that a bit faster, that's the baby scratch. And that's just simply on a kick of a tune. You can do it on snares or anything with a harsh attack. So yeah, give that a go. So now we've had a look at the baby scratch, the next one we can look at is a simple scratch called the transformer, and that's really only used with the crossfader. For this you'll need to load up a sample, and with the transformer you're basically cutting up the sound into small segments using the crossfader. So again, that's why it's really important to have that really sharp crossfader cutting point. And what you want to do there is you want to play your sample and then move the crossfader to just chop it up, so you're almost going boom, 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 boom and transforming the sound. So let's check that out. So play the sample and then And all I'm doing there is just playing the sample on the platter, so just releasing it and then cutting up with a crossfader. And then you can take it another step further and you can actually move the platter in conjunction with the crossfader and you can create some cool patterns and stuff. So let's try that. So the next scratch we're going to look at is called the chirp scratch. It was actually invented by Jazzy Jeff. The reason it's called the chirp is it supposedly sounds like a little bird chirping, and this is another more advanced scratch. With this, you both need to use the platter and the crossfader to create this sound. So in order to do the chirp, you want to start with the very beginning of the sample, so the very first bit. And you want to start with the crossfader open, and by open I mean you want to start it so the platter is playing out. You can hear the deck that you want to play. So the crossfader is actually on the central position. And then you want to move the platter forward, so you're getting the very first bit of the sound. And when you do that, you want to bring the crossfader over to the right, so you cut it out, so like this. Move the platter forward and just cut that sound. Like that, so you only get a tiny little bit of sound. And then once the platter's forward, you want to pull it back and then move the crossfader to the open position, so you're cutting it back in like that. And then if you move it forward again, I'm going to cut it out and then move it back. And then if you do that quicker and quicker and quicker, it sounds like a chirp. Let's try it. So now we've gone through 3 different techniques of scratching. We've looked at the baby, the transformer and the chirp scratch. Let's just try and apply those over a beat and see what we can come up with. In this tutorial, we've covered 3 different techniques of how to mix hip-hop music together. We've covered scratching, we've covered cutting in one tune to the next, and we've also covered beat matching 2 tunes together. With scratching, the key thing is practice, practice, and more practice. Hope you've enjoyed it.